Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. It's one of those mornings, kind of cool outside. I'm coming to you from my home office today. I'm taking a day off from the church office, and so I'm at home. And we're still looking at the Sermon on the Mount. And Jesus has been talking about to his followers about how their righteousness can be better than the Pharisees. And he's been going through a litany of things that what they need to be doing and how it needs to be better. In this particular passage so far in chapter 6 of the Sermon on the Mount, we have looked at things like giving to the needy. We've looked at prayer, how to pray with righteousness. We've looked at how to fast with righteousness. Now today he's going to talk about an attitude we need to have towards money. This is what he says. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And Jesus is telling his disciples that don't put your faith in money. Don't put your faith in treasure. Put your faith in God. Don't serve money. Don't think about that. If I just had more money, I'd be better off. If I just had more money, I'd do this. So many people feel that way. I remember being very humbled when I first went to Africa, and to see people, I'd heard about it, but to see people who literally live on less than $1 a day. It's humbling. And there's something we need to understand. There's about 1 billion people in this world today that live on less than $1 a day. There's about 3 billion who live on less than $2 a day. It's amazing. It's amazing when you visit the Christians over there. Because when I went over there, I thought, well, that would be depressing just to live on nothing and to be just, literally wondering where your next meal is going to be coming from and if you're going to have enough to eat. And I was amazed at the joy and the happiness that these folks had. Now, there have been times I've had famine over there, and it's been serious because I've lost a lot of folks with starvation. And I've always tried to keep in touch with them and send money to them at times when we could. But I was amazed at the joy. I saw a joy there that I have not seen in the United States, honestly. And I think that's what happens when you trust God and you don't trust your money. He just says, don't store up things for yourselves on this earth. He says it's not going to last. But worry about things that you're storing up in heaven. Worry about the deeds that you're doing in heaven. Worry about the things that's going on that's going to last forever. We're so in tune to things that are going to not last very long. We're not in tune to things that are going to last throughout eternity. Any act of kindness, any act of love, your relationship to God, your relationship to others, those can last through eternity. Money's not going to last. Now, in saying that, I do think John Wesley had to tell his folks it was okay to buy a home, and it was okay to save for retirement and things, because people took this passage way to the extreme. I remember Grayson DeLass, who was our pastor emeritus here at First Baptist Church, Texas City. When I first came, he came to me and he said, Robert, he said, I know you give into the annuity program and the retirement program. And he said, let me just tell you some advice. He said, you can't put enough in there. He said, you'll need more than you think. And I always thought about that, and I think it's wise for retirement. And I don't think that's what Jesus is talking about here. What Jesus is talking about is that you put your trust in God, put your happiness in Him, and not in money. another story that I think is very significant. If you know the story of St. Francis of Assisi, his family was in the garment business and made very fancy garments. Apparently, St. Francis of Assisi loved to dress well, and he loved his fancy clothes. And but then he felt called by God and felt called to go live in the monastery. And his dad had planned for St. Francis to take over the garment business. And he and his dad had a pretty large falling out about him wanting to go into the priesthood. And so his dad just told him to leave all of his clothes there, just to go with the clothes on his back. And St. Francis of Assisi literally took his very fancy clothes off that he had on and put on rags. And for the rest of his life, literally dressed in rags, just literally dressed very simply, very, very humbly and all. So as to remind himself that those things were not important to him anymore, but his relationship with God was. And I think that's what we have to understand is what's important to us, what will last. And the old adage is you can't take it with you. You know, there's no U-Haul trailer behind any hearse. And there's just truth. The things that are eternal are the only things we take with us into the next life. Jesus goes on to say, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. If your eyes are bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? And the belief in Jesus' day is that the eyes were mirrors to inside to let light or darkness in. And Jesus is basically saying those who just trust their treasure, trust money, trust like that, makes you dark inside. And then he goes on to say, no one can serve two masters. Either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. You just can't do it. And he says, those are impossible. He said, serve God. Use money as you need to. But you can't serve God and money. And I hope today that you'll feel in a sense to where you'll be committed to things that are going to last forever. Those are the things that we need to be concentrating on. Well, I hope you have a good weekend and enjoy the cooler weather. And I'll see some of you on Sunday. And the others, I hope to see you back here next Monday at 8 o'clock. Have a great weekend.